it's pretty neat to be able to say, hey, here's your new home, right? Or now your first home, right? So
I described it as noble work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is noble.
Well, and I think that the key to it is, referring to kind of my former life, doing a lot of executive coaching and those kinds of things. It's all about asking questions, right? It's all about helping them discover what it is that they really may want or need, or what their parameters are, but helping them get there. So, like I know has been talked about many times on this podcast, it's not about telling them, it's about helping them kind of discover what it is that they, whether they know it or not, what they really are after, what they're really looking for, and what really matters to them.
So after you had that discovery conversation, what happened next? What was the next step in the process?
The next step is, really about determining then more specifics, right? Once you kind of define the relationship, you start talking to them a little bit about what it is that they really think they're after and what they want, then start looking for that, being able to help them, get them prepared to be able to hopefully make an offer soon. So we always talk about what they want, what they're looking for. The next question, which of course I know has been talked about many times on this podcast, is find a good local lender so that they can get, pre-qualified so that they're ready to make a decision. When they're ready to make a decision, that they can do that and they're prepared to do that.
So you use the term local lender. Why is a local lender more important than, say, one of these national brands?
Well, the national brands are really good at advertising. They make it very enticing. But what they don't have are the relationships in this community, that if we do run into challenge or we do run into some obstacles, there's no one better than someone that's local that also has relationships in this community to help navigate those things. They're also much more accessible to us as agents, to be able to get them on the phone to talk through what the issues might be so that we can move past that as quickly as possible. So local's always better. And we have a lot of different people we can refer.
Awesome. And these particular clients went to a local lender. If I understand it correctly, they got approved up to $800,000.
Correct.
What does that mean?
What that really sets is kind of that expectation for them. It doesn't mean they have to buy a house that costs $800,000, but that is going to be what they're going to be approved for. And so I think, one of the things helping them talk through that is how comfortable are they with that? That just because that's what they've qualified for doesn't mean that's what they're going to be comfortable with. And so giving them kind of the information to help them then be able to start looking at specific properties that are within their comfort zone. And that's what they think is the exciting part. Let's start looking at some and get into some of them.
Okay, so they get approved, and now we're going shopping, right?
Right.
And how many houses did you show them?
This particular couple, I showed at least 5.
Okay. And how many offers did you write?
We wrote 2 offers.
Okay.
And so what's fun, especially with first-time home buyers, they don't know exactly what it is that they want. They may want a condo, they may want a house, they may want, something different. And so it really is kind of exploring with them. And sometimes the process, it's just as important ruling out as it is ruling in. And so helping them, because it's overwhelming, because everyone they walk into, there's a little bit of a, can I live here? Kind of, and especially if there are a few of them, they start feeling overwhelmed about that. So helping, to eliminate certain ones starts narrowing the field down.
So they found a house for $725.
Correct.
And that's the one that one of the 2 you made an offer on, right?
Correct.
And if I remember right, you were telling me they kind of wanted to offer $700, but it had only been on the market for a couple of days. How did you sort of coach them through what number to put on the offer?
Again, we're never going to tell them what number to put on the offer, but I think we can help ask questions that help them determine what's going to be the strongest offer. Again, I think with a first-time home buyer, helping them consider not only the price that they're going to offer, but also the terms that we're going to put on that offer is important, and helping put them in kind of the mind of the seller, that if you were the seller, what would you think about this? If it's only been on the market for 6 days and you don't get a full price offer, what might you do? And then let them answer that question of, well, I would probably wait. So then asking the question, well, how bad do you want this house? At what point would you be disappointed that you didn't get this house? And so asking those questions again to help them arrive at, okay, we want to make a full price offer, or whatever it would have been, just as long as they were comfortable with it, but helping them kind of see it's early. This happened to be a trust sale. They're wanting, if they want this house, let's go in.
So this question's for both of you. You make the offer, to Jeff, what's it like dealing with these first-time home buyers who are anxious to get an answer, and an answer might not be coming for a couple of days? What's that time period like? And then, Hal, you're working with the sellers typically. So what's that time period look like from the seller's perspective when they're trying to make a decision on, do I accept this offer? Do I make a counter offer? What does that look like from both your perspectives?
I think first of all, for me, for the buyers, I still remember buying our first house. And every minute of every day, I was wondering what is going on,
right,
even when I knew that maybe nothing was. And so I think for what I really try to do is make sure that even if there's nothing to report, that I make some form of contact, whether it's even just a text or a call, just to say everything's on schedule, everything's fine, but just so they kind of have that comfort that things are moving along.
Yeah.
So what's going on behind the scenes with a seller in that time period, Hal?
Well, and I got to say, the reason Jeff is so good at what he does too is because as an agent that works a lot with sellers, the agents that are checking in, asking questions of me, right, to see how their offer is doing, what's happening with the other offers, if there are any, that sort of thing, is very helpful. Also, okay, we haven't had a response yet. I know there's still time, but it's like, well, yeah, we talked to the trust sale on this one where there's more than one trustee usually, or family member.
There is just one on this one.
On this one, but sometimes there's beneficiaries. But a lot of times you're not just dealing with one seller. It's a
Right.
husband and wife, brother, sister, family. So, letting know, well, one of the parties would say yes and the other one, we're still working on it. So you can have something to report back. So I would say, every landscape is different, John, when we get an offer, and it's, have we had any other offers? Is there any threats of any other offers? Because the last thing a seller wants to do is take something when something better is right behind it and ready to land.
Right.
So it boils down to communication again. So, I jokingly tell my clients every seller wants to wait 2 weeks to respond, and every buyer wants a response in 30 seconds.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I also tell my sellers, boy, if you're going to a store and it's a cheese shop. I love cheese. I don't know why that came up, but there's a block of cheese. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to have that. And they go, yeah, okay, it's $4, great. And you give them $4, go, great, give me a couple of days and I'll let you know whether or not you can have this cheese. I would, nobody likes that. So when you're selling your home, this is for all sellers, you are now in the business of offering a product. Hate to say it, but your home is a product that somebody else may or hopefully does want.
Right.
So the timing varies, but all I know is, someone like Jeff who communicates well is going to give his clients the best chance, and they'll be sleeping a little bit easier because of the communication. Yeah.
So
Now, wait, I want to embarrass him. You have a master's degree?
I do.
Did you get a PhD?
Yes.
Also in?
So my PhD is in educational leadership
Okay.
and organizational development.
Psychology? Did you have one of those or no?
That's my master.
Okay. So he's more educated than the two of us put together, but you learned it on the streets. Anyway, but it shows.
Why would he be embarrassed? You said you were going to embarrass him.
Oh, well, he's
That's
very
awesome.
humble. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this going. So you made a full price offer, and within a couple days it got accepted.
Yes.
It wasn't time to pop the champagne yet, right?
No.
So what happened after you got the offer accepted? What was kind of next?
So you have a little bit of a celebration, right? You have a little bit of, it was accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, don't get too excited yet. This is part of a process. This is an important part of it. But now we take this on, right? So now it's time to work within that contingency period to do our due diligence, to check out the property, to have an inspection done, to have an appraisal, all of those things that have to happen during the contingency period. And so I think, especially with a first-time home buyer, it's really important to take the time to explain what those things really mean. And again, set expectations of different things that can happen. And, especially like, for example, with the inspection report, with a home that's not, well, even if it is a brand new home, those inspection reports come back and there are pages and pages because their job is to find every little thing that is wrong or something that needs to be addressed in this home. And so again, kind of that education of helping helping the buyer understand this is part of the process. These are the kinds of things that we are looking for. And then we'll make decisions about those things.
So immediately after the offer gets accepted, you partner with Dakota, who's the escrow manager here, and he contacts the buyer and kind of helps them again, emphasizes what you probably already have is what the process is going to look like.
Right.
And then the buyer, within 3 days, right, has to issue their check for the deposit to the escrow company, right?
Yes.
What, do you have a little story to tell about that one?
Well, I mean, first of all, especially for anyone, but for first-time home buyers, it's probably the biggest check they've ever written so far. And that fear that comes with handing that over is pretty overwhelming.
Yep.
And so, again, talking to them and helping them understand what a big moment this is in their lives, that they've earned this. They are to a place where they've worked hard, or they've gotten to a place where they're going to own a home. And so really trying to help them go back to what really matters and why this matters to them, I think is an important part that makes it not easy, but a little easier of going, okay, here we go.
There's the psychologist in you right there.
And also knowing that there's still that contingency period,
Right.
that just because they've handed the check in, if something it doesn't work out during this contingency time, they'll get that money back.
Yeah, within about 30 days, that will have been the second biggest check they wrote, because their biggest one they write's on the day they close, right?
Right, exactly.
So you mentioned inspections. We'll come back to inspections in a second, but in this environment that we're in California today, insurance is an issue, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the process that they went through to get insurance and how quickly they did it.
Yeah. So with this particular couple, it was fairly easy. One of the things that we do as part of that process right after the offer is accepted, we encourage everyone to first check on insurance. That needs to be one of the first things that they do. And so, luckily with this one, very insurable. Everything came back the way that they wanted it to. But there will be other cases where it's going to be a little bit more of an issue to get insurance, especially these days, where I don't think we used to worry about that as much. That just used to be a given that you'll get insurance. And so that's become an important part of that process.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, maybe just a little bit, at the price for insurance. Because there are not many companies writing insurance, and overall California insurance prices has been way under the average in the U.S., but they're starting to catch up, even though they're still below. But
Right.
I was a little surprised. Insurance a little more than what I might have calculated going into a deal.
Well, and I think just real quick, just with first-time home buyers especially, encouraging them to shop around, because I think there are some other parts of the process that sometimes we take for granted, that you don't know what you don't know. And this particular couple, they knew exactly what to do. I think there are others that then helping them understand how to make the best decision and what they get to do to make that decision for themselves is important.
So I got a question for you, Jeff.
Sure.
I didn't realize this. California insurance rates are higher than
Lower.
lower than other.
Oh yeah, yeah. The average in California is about $1,700 for a $300,000 policy. Texas is double that. Florida's triple that.
Okay, because I got my new insurance bill and it's different than last year.
Yeah, by 30% probably.
Yes.
Yeah, mine went up 30%.
Yeah.
but I have it.
Right. Oh yeah. No.
You know,
No.
that-
yeah,
yeah.
but we got used to low prices.
Right.
Right.
We-
and low interest rates.
Okay, so we did the inspections and we got the inspection report back. There are two inspections, a termite inspection and a home inspection, right?
Right.
And in this particular case, the home inspection didn't identify much, but the termite inspection identified some damage that needed to be repaired and suggestion of tenting, right?
Correct.
So that's a pretty big number, right? So how did you handle that with the sellers?
So, now, first of all, with the buyers, helping them understand that now we're going to do a request for repairs. Now we get to go back to that seller to ask them for the things that we think should be covered by them. And so then really talking through again what really matters. Because, to make it to make it as acceptable as possible, we want them to be very realistic things. It is an older house, so there are going to be things that just naturally, because of the age of the house, are going to be reported out. But then things like the pest inspection, we talk about what the estimate for it would be. In this case, I think it was around $4,000 or something, and what those things covered, and felt like it's a fair ask to have them ask the seller to cover those things, including the tenting of the house. So we do that, as well as then, based on the inspection, we may ask for a few other things to be looked at, especially around safety kinds of issues or things that aren't necessarily just due to the age of the house. I think can be a pretty good gauge of what you might consider asking for.
So we get agreement on those things between the buyer and the seller, and in the background, we've got the loan being approved, which worked out great,
right.
And we've got an appraisal, which that worked out great, right? In fact,
right.
Next week we're going to be talking to an appraiser about the appraisal process, so I'm excited about that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're coming up on moving day and closing day,
right.
And there's one thing you get to do at the very end that I know that you love to do. Did you remember what you told me that was?
Well, first of all, I love handing them the keys.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
I love being able to go, this is finished. And just one thing that I'll add, because it can't be overlooked, and you mentioned Dakota earlier. The other thing I think that brings a lot of comfort in the process is, as their agent, of course, I'm always going back and forth and talking with them about all of these things. Dakota is also, he's the one working, not really in the background, he's very much in the forefront of working them through every single step of the process. And so without Dakota, it would be a much messier process.
Yeah, he was on a few weeks ago. He said he did 800 deals in the last 5 years. Do you think he knows what he's doing or
Right.
what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he communicates extremely well and takes them along the journey.
Yeah.
And so they feel very comfortable reaching out to him as well, because he's doing a lot of back and forth with the title company, with the listing agent, with everyone else as this process kind of rolls along. And so that's what all leads us to closing on this house and handing them the keys and saying it's now yours and your homeowners.
What was the best part of this whole process for you?
I think what I love overall about it is just the excitement every step along the way. You get all these little victories, right? You get, every time you jump a hurdle, you get these little victories that really mean a lot to these buyers. And it reminds you every day of why you do what you do, and the importance of helping them have that experience is important. Facilitating that experience, I think, is the best part for me. You run into obstacles, you run into different things along the way, and helping manage that so that it doesn't take away from it, but only is just a part of it, almost makes the reward even better at the end, like so many other things in life.
Do you remember what you told me a few days ago about what it feels like to work with a motivated buyer?
Well, it feels really good, for sure.
Yeah, because not all
That is
potential buyers are motivated to get a deal done, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are what my dad used to call tire kickers, you know?
Exactly. Which sometimes, it takes those tire kickers to get to be
Oh,
those
sure.
motivated buyers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's great when they're ready and let's do this
Right.
and put that in motion.
Well, I know how you're very proud of yourself for bringing Jeff on the team, aren't you?
I'm proud of
What a
myself.
great-
that
what a
that
great
somebody
choice.
told
You don't
Jeff
have to
call
answer
me.
that.
Yeah.
What a great choice you
Well,
made out.
of course, that's because when your daughter and my son were in high school and they were goofing around just playing, and one of them got, Jeff. We had a fun story. We'll just leave it at that.
It's not for TV.
Oh no, it was completely G, but it was funny. Oh my gosh,
We've been
But
around each other for a long time.
we've seen it all. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I love how passionate you are, so we appreciate you. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
on the team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to share or any funny stories about Jeff?
Well, no, you think about, when you were talking about it, the first time buyer, they're so excited because it's the first, but it's like when your child starts to walk, you're kind of holding their hands and then they're on their own and then they walk and you don't even think about it. So that's why the first time buyer is so fun, because it's this whole new experience,
Right.
And, for better or for worse, people don't move that often. So sometimes it's a rehash.
Right.
But a lot of times, what the heck? How did I get here again?
Right.
So that, you're just so well suited for what you do, and having helped companies for all the years you did, and groups of people, it seems almost like a parallel process, but it's much more individualistic. And I know you did individual coaching in terms of that, and then huge groups of audiences you talk to. So, you're a natural, obviously.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, James, I'd just like to say something before we sign off.
Sure.
This week, one of my childhood heroes passed away, and I just want to say hey to Willie Mays.
That's awesome, JT.
Say,
Yeah.
Willie.
Best player to ever play the game. And
Best player ever.
I got to see him play on August 12th, 1961, the first game I ever went to at Candlestick Park, and Willie hit a home run.
That's awesome.
And got to meet him. Got to shake his hand a few times, and God, his hands were massive. It just swallowed my hand. And he was only 5'10", but just massive hands.
Yeah.
And, best player to ever play the game.
When you saw the over the shoulder, when you saw him up close and saw how big his hands were, was it more believable, the over the shoulder catch?
I don't know that it was more believable, the over the shoulder catch. Nothing that he did on a baseball field surprised me. He just, like I said, he was the best that ever played. He was a 5-tool player, and he was amazing, and a showman. He'd be running the bases, and he always wore a hat that was too small, so his hat would fly off because the fans thought it was awesome. Flew off.
He was a promoter too.
Yeah.
Right on. Well,
Mays.
again, thank you, Jeff, for being here. Of
course.
I appreciate you. And Hal, you didn't talk a whole lot today, but Jeff did a great job. So
This will be our best podcast.
He's saving up for next week.
yeah, that's right. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much, and great podcast today. We'll talk to everybody next week.
Thanks, James.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
see ya.